we need to draw the diagram to know how the distance Sergio bike is related to the time he bikes. So he is biking 7 miles in 1/4 of hour. We are going to solve it on the board. We need to make a table of equivalent radius to find the unit rate. We have 7 miles in 1/4. So, okay. Sergio is moving 7 miles in 1/4 of the hour. This 1/4 are the 15 minutes, right? And you multiply this by 4. Why I'm going to multiply by 4? Because this is 1/4 of the hour. So you have 4 parts like this to obtain 1 hour. So I multiply by 4. In this case, when we multiply the 7 times 4, we obtain 28. This is the 7 times 4, 28 miles. Remember, we are working with miles. Okay, but now, if I multiply the 1/4 times 4, I'm going to solve it down here. 1/4 times 4. You multiply. 1 times 4 is 4 with the numerators, right? And in the denominator, you can add 1 in here because the 1 is not going to affect your answer. Remember, and every number divided by 1 is going to be the same. So if I multiply 4 times 1, I'm going to obtain 4 again. And if you divide 4 by 4, you obtain 1. So this is for 1 hour. So you can prove that this is 4 times this is 1 hour. So this is 1/4 of the hour. Sergio is biking 28 miles in 1 hour. Is he getting to the goal? Is he reaching the goal? Yes, because he wants to bike 25 miles and he is biking 28 miles. So he is over the goal. So, okay, we have another question in the exercise that says try it. And it's the same of example. If Sergio increases his target speed to 30 miles per hour, how many more miles does Sergio need to ride in 1/4 of the hour to achieve his target speed? Okay, now he doesn't want to get only 25 miles. Now he wants to reach 30 miles. So we are going to find two numbers that multiply are closer than 30. Guys, I'm only multiplying in here. So I only need the numbers that multiply are closer than 30. We can use, I think that we can use the 8 and 4. If you multiply 8 miles 4 times, you're going to obtain 32 miles. And again, he is reaching the goal. I'm going to erase this part. You already know how to multiply the fractions. And in this case, we only change. Now he's going to bike 8 miles. 8 miles times 4 is 32. And 1/4 times 4 is 1. So if he bikes 8 miles in 15 minutes, he is going to reach 32 miles in 1 hour. Again, he's going to reach the goal to achieve his target speed. Okay, on to this part. Marco, do you have any question, Marco? Did you understand the problem, Marco?
More or less.
More or less, okay. And what's your doubt? We are only multiplying the number of miles he needs by 4. And why by 4? Because 15 minutes is 1/4 of the hour. And I need to find the distance in miles in 1 hour, 1 complete hour. So that's the reason why I multiply by 4. Okay. If the other people doesn't have any other question, go to the example 2, page 93. Example 2, page 93. Okay. I'm going to use the help from another one. Mariela, do you have the book? Can you help me to read the example 2?
Yes. Brownie mows the lawn every other weekend. She can mow 12,000 feet in two third
Two-thirds.
hours. 2/3 hours. The lawn is 36,000 feet. How long does it take her to mow the entire lawn?
Okay.
Brownie mows.
Tell me, Mariela. Okay. How long does it take? How long does it take her to mow the entire lawn? Okay. We have 12,000 square feet, and she can mow this amount of feet in 12,000 in 2/3 of the hour. So how much time is she going to take to mow all the lawn? I have 12,000. This is going to be divided by 2/3. Remember, we're dividing this part because it's the time she is going to take. But now I need to obtain the final time and the final distance in feet, square feet. So we are going to multiply. I'm going to show you on the board again. And why in the exercise they change the order of the fraction. You have 12,000, and 12,000 is divided by 2/3. And now on the example you have this 12,000 multiplied by 3/2. And maybe you are wondering why in this case you have the fraction in the inverse form. What is 2/3 doing to 12,000? It's dividing, right? It's dividing. So if you pass it to the other side, you need to change the sign. If you want this on the top, you are not going to have a division anymore. You are going to have a multiplication. And when we change from division to a multiplication, we are going to invert the fraction. So I don't have 2/3 anymore. Now I have 3/2. Remember, when we change from the division to a multiplication, we change this sign and we invert the fraction. We were doing example like this on the last class, if you remember, when we multiply the fractions and divide the fractions. And now, in this case, I need to multiply by the same number. I have 2/3 multiplied by the same number I have on the top, 3/2. When you multiply this, 2 times 3 is 6, and 3 times 2 is 6 again. So at the end, this is going to be 1. When you multiply by the inverse of one number, it's going to be 1. Yes? If you divide 6 by 6, it's going to be 1. Any number divided by the same, by itself, is going to be 1. So in this case, we can erase all this and only write 1. And now I only need to multiply these numbers. 12,000 times 3 is going to be 12 times 3 is 36. And I only copy the 0 to form the 1,000. And when you have this, you can place 1 in here. You have an imaginary 1 in here to convert this in fraction. I'm going to write it again so you can see it better. You can place 1 in here to multiply the fractions. 12,000 times 3 and 1 times 2. Remember, if I divide by 1, it's not going to affect my number, so I can divide by 1. In this case, we are not going to simplify. We can divide this 36,000 by 2, and we are going to obtain 18,000. But if we divide, we are not going to know the time. We are going to know the distance in feet, but we are not going to know the time. In this case, I have 36,000 in 2 hours. These are hours. And this is the square feet. 36,000 square feet in 2 hours. She is going to mow the lawn. So that's the reason why I don't divide 36,000 by 2, because this is feet and this is hours. So until this part in the example, do you have any question? Ileana? Remember that I ask randomly. I don't know if you're paying attention or not, so I ask randomly. Abiel, do you have any question? Okay. Remember, we are only multiplying and dividing. The only thing you have to study is the properties of when we work with the fractions, the operations with the fractions. Remember how to sum, how to subtract, how to multiply, and how to divide the fractions. And if you work well with the fractions, we are going to find the answer very easy. In the part that says try it is easier. You are only going to replace the numbers you have at the beginning by the numbers they give you. Every other weekend, Browning's mother, Daniel mows the lawn, and he can mow 15,000. You are going only to change. You don't have 12,000 anymore. Now you have 15,000, and the time is different. You had at the beginning 2/3, and now you have 3/4. So you only change the numbers we have. Instead of 12,000, now I have 15,000, and instead of the 2/3, now I have the 3/4. And you obtain this answer in the same way. Now I'm going to the example 3, the same page, example 3, page 93. We need to solve problems. Tell me.
Valeria Linda Lee told me that she cannot enter to the class.
And I try to accept her at least 10 times or more. And I don't know why she doesn't join the class. Maybe his internet or something with his device, her internet or her device, because I accepted at least 10 times and she couldn't enter. I don't know why. So example 3, solve problems using unit rates. You have one drawing at the right part that is going to help you to complete the example. Omar knows that his friend Chris lives 3/5 miles away. How far is the school from his house? Okay. At the beginning, you have miles. You have 3/5 miles. They are separated 3/5 mile, one house from another, right? Omar's house and Chris' house are separated. So How far is the school from his house? You have the drawing at the right part. You have Chris' house, Omar's house, and the schools, and you have the distance between each one of them. The distance from Chris' house to Omar's house on the map is 3/4 inch, and the Omar's house and the school are separated by 2 inches. So we are going to find this distance, and the first step is to divide. You can see that you have the first distance in miles, 3/5 miles, and you divide it by the distance is on the map. They are showing you another form to write this distance. So you divide 3/5 miles by 3/4 inches. And we do the same. If we don't want to divide this, we pass to multiply, but we are going to invert the fraction. And we obtain the distance in 1 inch. Remember that this is using the map, using the drawing you have at the right part. You divide both terms by 3/4 to find the unit rate. 3/4 is the fraction you got. And when you want to eliminate this, you multiply by the inverse. The inverse is when you put the numerator in the denominator and the denominator in the numerator. And at the end, you only multiply both terms of the unit rate by 2 to find an equivalent rate. And why you multiply by 2? To find the equivalent in this case, okay? Because at the beginning you have 2 inches. From the answer you get at the beginning, 4/5 over 1, you multiply by 2, and you are going to obtain the answer. So Omar's school is 1 3/5 miles from his house. Okay, we can write it on the board only to explain you what are they doing on the example, but it's the same like the example 2. It's the same kind of example. You have 3/5 mile, 3/5 miles, and this is divided 3/4 inch. This is what you got on the drawing, 3/4 inch. Now remember, if you don't want this dividing, you pass the division to the top, but I'm going to multiply. I have 3/5 times. If I multiply, I'm going to change the fraction. I need to invert it. So I don't have 3/4 anymore. I have 4/3. And remember, we need to multiply in here by the same number we multiplied on the top. Okay, remember, I always tell you, if you multiply one number of the fraction, if you multiply the numerator, for example, you need to multiply the denominator too. You need to multiply both numbers, so don't, in this way, we don't change the result. 3/4 times 4/3. And at the end, you know that this is going to be 1, because when you multiply one number by its inverse, it's going to be 1. The inverse of 3/4 is 4/3. The denominator passes to the numerator, and the numerator in here passes to the denominator. So at the end, this is going to be 1. Always this is going to be 1. And on the top of the fraction, you have to solve the multiplication, 3 times 4 and 5 times 3. And at the end, they simplify. Okay, you have this. 3 times 4 is 12. And 5 times 3 is 15. You have 12/15. But I don't want to have this in this form because I know that I can simplify. And to simplify, I only need to divide by 3. If I divide by 3 the 12, you are going to obtain 4 I'm going to simplify in the same position. So because I don't have space, you have 4. And if you simplify the 15, you divide the 15 by 3, you have 5. And you can see that this is the result you have. This 5 is weird. Okay, and this is the result you have on the book. 4/5 miles in 1 inch. Remember, in this case, they are not hours. In this case, we have inches because the map you have at the right part is represented in inches. And at the end of the exercise, we only multiply by 2. I already explained you this part. We multiply by 2 because of the 2 inches that separate the Omar house and the school. That's the reason why I multiply by 2 at the end of the exercise. And they convert this into mixed fraction only to have it in a more simplified form, okay? They're only trying to simplify and show the result. For example, you have 1 mile in 3/5 miles. If you don't want to convert it to a mixed fraction, it's okay. But remember that you have a improper fraction, and the most of the times they convert the improper fractions into a mixed fraction. So you later solve the exercise that says try. You can practice. And tomorrow we are going to solve the classwork. Tomorrow is page 94, 95, and 96. Tomorrow we are going to try to solve this. Okay, you are going to solve it. I'm going to be with you to know if you have any question on that. Guys, do you have any question until this point? Adriana, do you have any question? Juan Pablo? Juan Pablo, what happened with your video? Are you sleeping or something like that?
No, mister, I am here.
Okay. Remember, you have to keep your camera on.
Yes,
So,
boss.
guys, if you don't have any question, I think we can finish the class in here. Susie, do you have any questions, Susie? Okay. So, see you guys. Take care. We continue tomorrow. Have a nice day.